This 20-year-old is not only a Division I athlete and a sophomore at Harvard University majoring in economics, but she is also an artist and successful entrepreneur with many celebrity clients and viral moments. The powerhouse that is Gabby Anderson is a young artist who owns her own custom shoe company called Graffiti by Gabby. Now, what started as her just doing a few pairs of shoes for friends quickly turned into orders from all walks of life, including some of your favorite celebrities. One of her early projects was for a WNBA legend. She also designed shoes for the NFL, Nike, and several NBA stars. She's even scored a partnership with the corporate client Walmart. Her company has expanded into other genres, including commissioned paintings, web content, and products line. And today we're here to figure out how she did it all. Stay tuned.
Hi. How are
Hi.
you?
Before we jump in, just let us know a little bit more about you, Graffiti by Gabby, and everything else we should know.
Yes. I'm Gabby. It kind of sounds kind of crazy. You were saying I'm 20. I just turned 20. And it's been insane. I started my business when I was 16, and that feels like so long ago. I play on the women's basketball team here at Harvard. And so I spend most of my days playing basketball, painting, and going to school.
Amazing. So let's jump right in. So your journey from being a D1 athlete to a successful artist and an entrepreneur is definitely a fascinating one. Can you tell us about the transition? You said that you started this when you were 16. So what inspired you to jump into this whole new world of custom shoe design?
Yeah, I mean, a big life event that I lived through COVID. It was trying times for everyone. We were all locked in. It was trying times for everyone inside the house, and I was really bored. I was so bored that I started cracking open all those old art kits full of just random things that I had never tried before. And that's really how I started looking at shoe customization. I was saw stuff online. My father made a pair for me for Christmas. And I was like, oh, I could do this. Let's try this out. And I just started making a few for friends. And eventually, my friend KK Bransford, she's a women's basketball player at Notre Dame. She was like, you got to make an Instagram page out of this. Like, girl, you can really get to your bag. And I was like, okay. So I made my Instagram page, and it just absolutely blew up. During this time period, they were also having the Black Lives Matter movement in the WNBA because they were having protests and they really needed to play, but they wanted to make a statement. So I got offered to make a shoe for Nikki Collin, who coached the Atlanta Dream at the time, which was huge because it was a huge platform right out the gate. And I think I started at the right time. It was a great opportunity. And it really drove me forward. And I started to take this business super serious.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so you dropped one name there. There's also another name, Sue Bird, which is an iconic figure. So, and you designed a shoe for them. So, how did that opportunity even come about? What did you learn from working with sports legends with an S at the end?
Yes. Subert was absolutely amazing. That came about together. They were a new platform and they reached out and they kind of just wanted to honor Sue Bird. Um, and they asked me to customize a shoe for her. She's a sneakerhead. She loves shoes. It was an honor to do it. One thing I really learned when working with sports legends is that I have great character. Sometimes it's surprising, like you expect to meet someone you look up to, and it kind of surprises you sometimes, and you find out that they lack a lot of character. And I'm happy that I haven't had to experience that yet. Everyone I've met has been amazing. I did a shoot for Dietrich Wise, and he was absolutely so nice. Um, he invited me to his block party. I had a good time, good food, like things of that nature. So it's been great learning that such high celebrities still can have great character and be true to themselves.
Absolutely. Now you're bringing up the sneakers. I'm super excited about this. Do you have any that you can show us in real time?
Let's see. Ones that aren't okay. Wait, I have this. Okay, I have this shoe I made for the draft over the summer. this is not a sneaker. This is like my first heel I've done. But I needed a shoe with lots of color to go with my outfit. And I was like, I just customize it. Then it's special. Um, and so I made this one that says, and this one says Beyond
I love it.
in the inside. There's a matching shoe to go with it, but I can't quite find it. Yeah. Oh, here's another one. I made, oh, this one is so dirty. I made this years ago. Okay. This is, I did a pattern on the outside of this. And then on the inside are the lyrics to Brown Skin Girl. I actually made like 2 pairs of these to match with my sister.
Oh,
And so it was another thing. I was trying to inspire her to just be true to yourself, enjoy yourself. And yeah.
oh, I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing that.
It is.
So the artistic part, when did this start? Have you always been an artist? Did you first pick up a paintbrush when you were 16, or how did you cultivate that?
No, I've always loved art. I'm an only child, so I live by myself. I have half sisters, but it was just me and my mom for my entire life. And so my mom, being the grown woman she is, didn't want to play with a kid all the time. So I had to entertain myself often. Art was one of those ways. I used to paint on the walls. She would let me go crazy. Um, really anything to pass the time. And I found it very enjoyable. It wasn't until like middle school, like the end of middle school, where I started to get like somewhat good at it. Because eventually my mom was like, you're kind of good at this. Like, maybe we should put you in art classes. Maybe I'll buy you some like nice art supplies. So it was really my mom cultivating that experience for me that made me become the artist that I am.
Okay, well, first of all, let's give a shout out to mom for even seeing that you have that talent and, fostering it within you. Um, so it seems like Graffiti by Gabby is more than just a business. It's a platform for, personal expression and storytelling. So could you share some memorable stories behind some of the custom shoes that you've made? Any that are your favorites? Even I remember, well, I'll let you tell the stories.
Yes. Graffiti by Gabby is definitely, I call it my baby, just because it means so much more to me than just a business, just like a job. I tell people often that I am very happy to be able to do a job that I love. And so it doesn't even feel like I'm working half the time. The shoes you were talking about, I made a pair of shoes for Candace Graham. She was one of my mom's friends and she had cancer. And I got to make a shoe to represent her journey through that. And it was very inspiring. I think that was definitely one of the changing points when I was making custom shoes, because at some point I understood that what I was doing was very impactful in other people's lives. Because sometimes people go into and they're like, oh, I just want like cartoons, da, 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 da. And then other times you get something like Candace's shoe and it's really important, it's really meaningful, and it means a lot to them and it helps them tell their story. And I think that's where I decided that this is definitely my passion and I would love to do this for the rest of my life, only because the smile, she sent me a little video after she got it and I felt so good, and it was just like that warm feeling of being able to help somebody.
Oh, I love that. Um, that is a very, very touching story. And it's great that you can use your art for so many different areas. And it seems as though Graffiti by Gabby isn't just the custom shoemaking. You're also venturing into other artistic areas, commission paintings, even web content. So how do you manage all these different forms of expression with your brand? Is there one that you focus on more than the other? How does that work?
No, I think I definitely get more shoe orders than anything, but that's just kind of how Graffiti by Gabby started. Um, I did a large project with Walmart, which was my biggest order of custom portraits, which was amazing. That's when I realized that painting is something that I love, painting on anything. I painted on the most random things that people send me. And it's always fun trying to figure out like what paint to use, like how to paint it. Um, but no, I feel as if Graffiti by Gabby has lots of balance.
Mhm.
Um, but shoe customization is always going to take the cake. Um, It's fun and people tend to love it. So
I love it. So you mentioned being commissioned by Walmart, which is a big deal. So how did that even come about, and what impact did that have on your artistic journey?
oh yes. So my senior year of high school, I I was asked by and Angel Beasley. Um, she saw my stuff online and she basically messaged my mom because they're mutuals. Walmart is out of Arkansas, and I am an Arkansas native. I was born in Fayetteville, so we have some of those Walmart connections. And she had seen my stuff, and she was like, "Listen, we need somebody to make some custom artwork for Juneteenth. Can Gabby do it?" And at that point in time, I've never done a project of that scale that's not shoes. So going into it, I was little like, okay, I'm working with big dogs. I got to be on my P's and Q's. And so it was really fun. I felt so professional. I think that was the most professional I've ever felt when doing like any type of thing, because like just negotiating the deal, getting all the files, sorting through the files, making sure my artwork met every standard. I had to talk to each founder because basically I painted portraits of the founders of beauty brands to go on an end cap. And so I had to submit that. I had to take high res photos and then submit the high res photos after I made the painting. I had to stay on a really strict schedule to make sure they were done early so we can send the pictures and things to the manufacturer. It was it was such a great project because I just remember how long I was working on it and how much effort I put into it. And I think that project let me know that I do have an entrepreneurship spirit. So it's one thing to own a business and do it, but once I really started doing it in all levels, I was like, I'm not too young to do this. It's absolutely something that I have the capability to do.
You know, I have chills because every time you speak, I keep going back to the fact that you are 20 years old. And so it is amazing that you've had all of this experience, and even being able to navigate the business side, because there are so many creatives who are great at what they do on a creative end, but having the business acumen to really, drive things forward is a whole different challenge. So the fact that you've been able to navigate those two pieces is amazing, and you're only just 20. That is an amazing head start. So how did you, was it more trial and error when you were beginning? How did you kind of learn that business piece?
Yeah, in the beginning, it definitely was trial and error. um, but I think my mom helped a lot. She has started her own businesses. She's an author. My mom has worked in almost every space that I can think of, and she helped me a lot. She still helps me to this day. She is my right hand man. She's who I go to. I also think what definitely helped me is I love to learn. When I don't know something, it makes me feel really uncomfortable. So I'm like, I need to know how to do something. If I'm ever in a meeting and someone brings up a word that I don't understand, or like a subject that I feel like I should know, but I don't, I'll like write it down and be like, yeah, okay. And right after the meeting, I'm like, what was this? How do I incorporate this? Um, Things of that nature. It's a lot of trial and error and just willing to learn. And I think the biggest thing is being okay that you don't know everything. So there are certain aspects to business that I know I am not an expert in. And one thing I just learned in class is you have to build a team around you to help you do those things.
Absolutely. I want to go back to a point that you mentioned about your mom being very influential and very helpful in your business. It's basically generational wealth. People always assume that generational wealth has to have a dollar sign attached to it, but it's also the knowledge and the acumen that's being passed down from generation to generation. Where mom is an entrepreneur, and she's able to pass that knowledge down to you so that you can also make your own moves. And I think that is amazing. So kudos to mom once again.
Kudos, mom.
Yes. So let's talk about your web series, Soul to Soul. What was the inspiration for this?
Yes, Soul to Soul started. I did Oh, I was in the car with my mom, and we take a lot of road trips. We drive everywhere. And I was like, I want to create a web series because I started seeing a lot of people do social media and they were online and they were speaking. And I was like, Mom, I talk so much. I love to talk. Like, let's do something where I get to talk. Like that would be fun. That would be easy. And she was like, okay, think of something. And so I sat there and I was thinking, and I was like, a little series where I customize shoes and then talk to the person about their design, something that was really meaningful to them. That would be amazing. My mom was like, I like it, but like, who would you ask? And I was like, athletes, I feel sometimes we don't get to know their personalities well enough. Oftentimes, when you're an athlete, that's just what you are. You're just somebody who plays your sport, and you're fun. That's pretty much what people think about you. It can go off your stats or whatever, but a lot of athletes have deeper stories. They have other interests. They have things that people just would never know about them because they never get asked. And I was like, I think we should do athletes, and I think we should put something that is meaningful that they probably would never say otherwise onto these shoes. And that's how Soul to Soul was created. It was really just being able to cultivate that experience for athletes to make sure that they have a voice.
I love that. And speaking of being an athlete, I just want to run this down one more time. You're an athlete, you're an Ivy League student, you're an artist, and you're an entrepreneur at 20. So how do you balance all these different things, especially, being, a student in college while also pursuing all these different things?
Yeah, balance is key. Luckily for me, I feel as if every aspect kind of meshes together. So I take business classes, which help me with my entrepreneurship side. So like a lot of times my assignments in my class help me with my business. So it's like two birds, one stone. And then basketball, just the connections I get from basketball. Not only is basketball connected to my school, but it's also greatly connected to the business I do. I mean, I work with other athletes, and playing basketball helps me connect to them um, in another level. And I just get to meet new people all the time. I think time management is a huge one for me. I'm very particular about my schedule. Um, People are like, hey, let's do this. I'm like, wait. Let me get my binder out. Let me check. Maybe. Um, but no, I think it's really understanding that everything I do, I'm very passionate about. So I'm not willing to not do it to my best ability. And I'm also not willing to compromise on having time for that.
I love that. And the discipline that you have, I mean, you have to be disciplined to be an athlete, period. But, it shows up in all these other areas. I love this saying that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So kudos on having those time management skills and the discipline to, tackle everything at once. So another accomplishment, there are many. You're also represented by William Morris Endeavor, which is a major accomplishment. So how did that, happen and how has that impacted, your career trajectory?
Yes, I went to boarding school at IMG Academy. And at the time, William and Morris owned IMG Academy. And so they had some people come in and give us talk about NIL because it was very new at the time. And they really wanted to get some of the athletes on campus to dive in, start looking at NIL, be educated. Um, and after the talk, I kind of just went up to one of the guys and was like, hey, I'm really interested. How do I get started? What do we do? I know you guys are a really big deal. Like, how does this work? Let's figure this out. Um, and it was just kind of conversation. They were like, oh no, don't worry, Gabby. We've heard of you. We've seen your work, your shoe customization. And I was taken back. I was like, oh, okay, you've heard of me. I feel special. And it was just one of those things. I found my agent, Cecil White, love him. He's amazing. It was a big game changer. I think signing with WME helped me realize the money value of myself, of being a person. You yourself are your own brand, you're your own personal business, and you can profit off of just being you. And he really helped me understand that like I have a value and people should always meet that value. Um, it was a level up. At that moment, I knew I leveled up. That I no longer was just out here free balling it. Like I stepped up.
Yeah, love it. So being so accomplished, what advice do you have for other, other artists who want to turn their hobbies or their passion into an entrepreneurial pursuit?
Yes, definitely. My advice would be show your authentic self in all of your artwork. I think that's what helps me because art sometimes it can feel repetitive, and then sometimes it's hard to find passion in something you're doing for a job when you have to meet a deadline and you need the money and you need to get paid for something. I think it can sometimes suck the joy out of it. But if you're always putting your authentic self, your thoughts, your feelings into that artwork, I mean, that's why people buy it in the first place. Um, then you're going to be just fine. You'll be just fine. Stick to what you know, stick to things you love. And as long as your artwork is saying something, there's always someone who will buy.
Absolutely. Um, so you have gone into many different collaborations with athletes, corporations, community partners, and members. So how do you approach securing partnerships and collaborations? And what do you think makes a successful creative partnership?
Yeah, so partnerships most of the time have come from either people just messaging me through Instagram or emailing me, or my agency brings them to me. So oftentimes they'll just present me with an idea, and I either give it a green light, red light. Most of the time, it's a green light. I feel like I love working with people. Um, the best collaborations for sure are the ones who understand people's strengths. How to explain that in more depth is I'm an artist, I am very creative. And so I've found that I've worked best with other people when they're like, hey, we know you're creative, we know you like this, and you're really good at making designs for this. Can you make us design centered around this? And then I'll send it to them and they'll give me feedback. Um, I feel like that's always worked best because I always ask questions. I will never just go into it. You definitely know your brand and your company way better than I know it. I would like to know certain questions, certain aspects, certain color schemes. And those have been my favorite interactions because they're like, we want you to do whatever. And I'm like, I also want to really represent you while also having my own kind of touch on it. So those collaborations, top tier.
I see. Okay, that makes tons of sense. So you talked a little bit about how your art pretty much went viral. What do you think contributed most to that? Was it particular platforms, especially for artists out there who want to, get other people to see their artwork? What advice do you have for them?
Well, I think I'm still kind of in that area where I'm like, because social media is hard when it comes to artwork, because I feel like art is a very personal thing sometimes. And I've really been trying to put more of my own personal artwork online just because I understand that people enjoy to see it. And in order for me to one day sell it, that I have to actually show it to people. Um, I think I definitely have gotten the most coverage from news organizations, in general, being on TV. How others can do that sometimes it's okay. I have been connected with my local newspaper very often. That can even be easier to do than like a national network, because sometimes people are like, oh, I got to be on national TV. But I'm telling you, you go on your local network and people see you and they're like, oh my God, who's this kid? Who's this kid? And the next thing you know, you're big locally and people are like, oh, but that's them, that's them. And eventually somebody is going to come to town and be like, oh, this is cool. And then you're going to branch out and maybe you become known all over your state, and then you'll branch out and over a few states. Next thing you know, you're nationally known. It's definitely a slow growth thing, but I think it's just key to understand like you can build.
Oh, I'm so glad that you said that. And that makes so much sense. feel like in the world of social media, people really do believe that, it's an overnight thing and you build something and tomorrow it goes viral and then boom, everything. But no, it takes, people who a lot of us think are overnight successes, they've been working at it for years. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to start out smaller on a local level, and then from there you will definitely expand. So thank you for that tip.
Yeah.
So you have navigated all kinds of different spaces from basketball courts to boardrooms, and you've done it with so much grace and creativity. So how do you stay true to yourself and your artistic vision in all these different environments and with all these different expectations?
Yeah, the biggest thing is giving myself an ego check often.
Hmm.
Um, so I think understanding that although I am at a very good place and I'm exactly where I want to be in life, that I have much further to go. I think always maintaining goals and dreams that are way beyond where I'm at right now is one thing that's helped me stay authentic to myself, because I know that I still want to be the same caring and loving and kind person that I am now when I get to those goals. So I oftentimes just have to make sure I'm not losing myself, um, which I think can be hard once you're put in certain situations. Like I have friends who are like, Gab, you're a celebrity, you're famous. And me personally, I'm like, I'm not famous. I'm not even a little famous. Like, known, famous, not really. And they're like, oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm like, no, because I haven't made it to the point in life that I want to be at.
Mhm.
I'm not there yet. And I think having that grind mentality definitely helps me stay more authentic to myself. Just because I don't get a big ego about things.
I love that. Staying grounded definitely helps. The concept of making a difference through art is very, very central to your work. Can you share like a defining moment or experience that solidified that purpose for you?
Um, Definitely when I made Candace Graham shoes, solidifying moment. I think another solidifying moment was when I created shoes for Texas A&M women's basketball team, and they all had a cause for their shoe that they had to represent, and they were all so different that I had to do lots of research for this project, and it was so many shoes. I don't even remember the total. I think it was maybe 15, maybe 15 shoes. And I learned so much that I had never known before. And that was something that made me, it was inspiring. It was inspiring to know that there are so many things going on and that I can touch all of those places with one project. Um, I felt so helpful, and each girl sent me a message and they told me how much they love their shoes. Um, and I was so happy to be a part of that project.
I love it. I love it. So, just to piggyback off of that, you have done a lot of amazing things in your 20 years so far. I'm sure there's much more good stuff to come. What would you say are your um, the accomplishments that you're most proud of?
Yes, accomplishments that I'm most proud of are probably one, attending Harvard University. Very excited about that. It's been a dream since I was a little girl. So I made little me happy. Starting a business at 16, it's it's crazy to me that I did it, but it was a great thing to do. And then something else I'm really proud of, probably the Walmart campaign,
Mhm.
probably one of my favorite campaigns. And I was really proud of the work I did.
Nice. I love it. And I have to ask you because you have some other artwork in the back besides the sneakers. So are these also Gabby originals that you have behind you?
This is my school supply line called Brilliant, Authentic, and Black. I just started it. It is a school supply line catered towards young Black African Americans. Um, and it's basically just a supply line that's hoping to give greater representation for the African American community in school supply lines. Oftentimes, you go to the store and there's not many characters on those bags that look like us or any characters. Most of the times, it was limited to characters made by Disney, and then, even then, it was very, very few options. And then when you look on Amazon and things, you find bags that it even look like us, or it's over sexualized, and the kids aren't giving the same youth and joyfulness that we have. And I kind of wanted to give accurate representation of who we are, of our culture. And I also wanted to inspire the next generation to be the best they can be, which is where Brilliant, Authentic, and Black came from.
I love it. I love it so much. We'll have to get those on OBWS as well. But what are your aspirations looking ahead for Graffiti by Gabby? What else do you have coming up in the near future?
Yes, right now, Graffiti by Gabby is focused, most of its focus is on Brilliant, Authentic, and Black. But we also have some collaborations going on with Soul Pack, that we hope to show you guys in the near future. And then the rest of it is a secret. Future, I hope that Graffiti by Gabby becomes a household name that everyone can think of when they think inspiring the next generation.
I love it. So we'll just have to keep in touch and stay tuned at what's next. So speaking of which, how do people keep in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on all social media platforms at Gabby Anderson 04. You can also go to my website at graffitibygabby.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your gifts with us, Gabby. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. Happy to be here.